All right, another spark and another build.
Welcome, hands of the craft. Today, we're not talking about building, we're talking about breaking. Let's now descend into the rust-slick abyss and explore the Corrot, the true monsters of the Tools Titans TCG, the apex predators of the Rustborn pantheon, and nightmare incarnations of corrupted craft.
That's correct, but before we begin, let's talk about the basics of playing Tools and Titans.
So, how do you play Tools and Titans? Easy. Draw your cards, charge your energy, build your field, act with your powers, clash with your Titans, end your turn. 6 steps, 1 epic battle. Now take it away, Tatiana.
Thank you, Tulin. This is a deep dive, everyone. We are opening the maw. The Corrot aren't just another faction. They are the true monsters of what's called the First Circle. So let's start there. Who or what are the Corrot?
They are monstrous entities, birthed or twisted into being by the Rustborn. Think of them as forged from industrial horrors, failed technologies, or the most terrifying hazards of trades gone horribly wrong. They are not Titans. They're not even Rustborn in the way we usually think of them. They are weapons, accidents, abominations designed for one purpose: to annihilate everything the Titans stand for.
And when you say monstrous, you mean it. Morphologically, they have almost no humanoid features. We're talking 0 to 20%, tops. They are living, breathing expressions of entropy with intent. Designed to hunt, break, consume, or corrupt. They are the ecosystem's true monsters.
So if they're not just corrupted versions of trades, what do they represent thematically?
They represent the hazards of those trades, elevated to the level of mythic horror. Think electrocution, blade accidents, weld burns, but given life. They embody unstoppable entropy, a kind of corruption that has no purpose and offers no redemption. It's the philosophical opposite of a Rustborn who corrupts an ideal. A Corrot is the absence of ideals.
Weaponized breakdown. It's right there in the lore. They're engineered by the Rustborn as specific anti-Titan instruments. They are the nightmare underside of the trades, where skill becomes a liability and invention becomes death.
It's a chilling concept. If the Titans are the gods of creation and the Rustborn are the corrupted angels, then the Corrot are the demons stirring beneath the forge. They are the final failure, where creation only births monsters.
So where did these things come from? When did they emerge?
They clawed their way into existence during the peak of the Rust era, or maybe just after. It was a time when Rustborn experimentation, forbidden tradecraft, and the catastrophic mishandling of tools just spiraled completely out of control.
Some were born directly from failed Titans. That's horrifying. Others were spawned in a place called the Junkyard Abyss, and some were even mutated preservants, protectors twisted into absolute terrors.
There was a specific event that marked a turning point. Something called the Scorch Rebirth. It's when the very first Corrot, a creature named Snarweld, melted straight through a Titan structure in a single, devastating strike. That's when everyone knew. The game had changed.
And where do these horrors dwell now? You don't just run into them at the local workshop, I assume.
Definitely not. They inhabit zones where industry has utterly failed, where entropy has consumed the land. These aren't just flavor text. These places have in-game effects. Take the Scorching Maw. It's a pit where all waste is devoured and reborn as monsters. In game terms, any card sent to the junkyard from this zone is removed from the game entirely. But for the Corrot player, they can pay a cost to spawn a lesser monster from it.
Then there's the Junkyard Abyss, the graveyard of broken Titans and corrupted echoes. Mechanically, it allows the Corrot player to use their junkyard reanimation skills at a lower cost, making their board presence incredibly persistent. It's a zone that rewards destruction.
Exactly. And places like the fracture fields are battlegrounds of failed machines. Structure cards played there enter the field with damage counters already on them. And the threaded hollows are tunnels of living cables where creatures like Graphilic's nest. These zones can actively bind or damage non-Corrot cards at the end of each turn.
So these zones make the Corrot's core strategy even stronger. Which brings us back to why they matter. They're more than just big monsters.
They serve that triple-purpose role in the ecosystem. Narrative apex threats, your endgame nightmares, PvP wildcards, decks that rewrite win conditions toward denial and rot, and mythic reflections. Each Corrot is a mirror-dark reflection of a trade gone wrong, where Rustborn corrupt and sabotage, the Corrot just obliterate.
All right, let's get into the case files. Let's talk about the monsters of the first circle. Let's start with the original nightmare, Snarweld.
Snarweld, the Molten Scar. This creature embodies the horror of welding burns and fusion meltdown. Its lore says it was born in a Titan-class shipyard during a battle where a welder Titan was struck by a corrupting force mid-repair. The result wasn't a Rustborn. It was just a screaming, melting horror of superheated slag and metal.
And in the game, that translates to pure aggression. Its core mechanic is overheat. For every action it takes, it gains a heat counter. At 3 counters, its next attack is unblockable and deals double damage. But the price is that Snarweld takes damage itself. A true glass cannon.
Right, and it creates those corrosion zones we mentioned. When it damages a structure, that zone becomes permanently corroded. Non-Corrot units in that zone can't use their special abilities. It doesn't just destroy, it leaves the battlefield scarred and useless for the opponent. It's the definition of aggro horror tempo.
Let's shift from pure heat to something more insidious. Graphilic's, the living snare.
Graphilic's is the fear of entanglement, of getting caught in machinery, in cables, in wires. It's described as a phantom made of living, rust-eaten fiber optic cables. It doesn't attack directly, not at first. It hunts.
Its mechanics are fascinating. It doesn't have high attack power. Instead, it creates echo cords that attach to opposing cards. These cords are trap cards placed directly onto the opponent's field. If the card tries to move, attack, or use an ability, the trap springs.
And that trap can do anything from dealing damage to forcing the card back into the player's hand, or even pulling another one of their cards out of position and into a trap zone. It synergizes perfectly with other trap-focused Corrot, like Cravature and Latchwing. It turns your opponent's own actions against them. It's a control player's nightmare.
Okay, that's horrifying. What about a Corrot that plays with the mind? Let's talk about Splicor.
Splicor, the glitching twin. This thing is digital terror made manifest. It represents the horror of a system failure, a corrupted file, a ghost in the machine. It was born from a Titan's corrupted data stream. It doesn't have a stable physical form. It flickers. It duplicates.
And that's its core mechanic, dual body split. When you play Splicor, you place 2 Splicor tokens on the field with half the stats. They are 2 separate bodies, but they are one entity. You can attack from 2 different zones at once. You can force your opponent to split their defenses.
The real terror is its mirror sabotage ability. If one Splicor token is destroyed, the other one immediately teleports to any zone on the field and triggers a sabotage effect. It might discard a random card from your opponent's hand or delete the text from one of their cards for a turn. Fighting it is like trying to catch smoke. You destroy one part, and the other part punishes you for it.
So you have raw power with Snarweld, strategic control with Graphilic's, and unpredictable disruption with Splicor. What about slow, inevitable decay?
For that, you have Reekthane, the choking haze. It's the embodiment of invisible death, toxic exhaust, chemical spills, airborne poisons. It has no real physical body, just a swirling cloud of greenish-brown vapor with glowing optics inside. It represents the hazard you don't see until it's too late.
And its gameplay reflects that perfectly. It's pure zone denial. When Reekthane enters the field, you place 3 poison tokens on any zones. At the start of your opponent's turn, any card in a poison zone takes 1 point of decay damage. It's slow, but it's inevitable.
And it stacks. Reekthane can add more tokens each turn. Its ultimate ability is Air Corruption. For 1 turn, every single zone on the field is considered poisoned. It's a field wipe that doesn't rely on a big, flashy attack. It just makes the very air toxic to your opponent. It's a perfect counter to decks that rely on building a wide, fortified board.
Every Titan turn, draw, charge, building, act, clash, end. 6 steps. The Corrot find a way to make each step a nightmare. Let's talk more about how these mechanics clash with established strategies.
Let's break down some key matchups. Consider a classic Tools Titans strategy, the Fortress build. A player using Masonics or Constructus wants to build impenetrable structures and win a long game.
And a Corrot player sees that as a buffet. A monster like Carbrise, the corrupted pressure beast, is designed for this. It gets stronger for each structure your opponent controls. Its whole purpose is to crack those structures with deep pressure loops, placing damage counters that can't be repaired. The Titan's greatest strength becomes their biggest liability.
Exactly. Now, what about a regenerative deck? A Titan like Verdesia who wants to heal and outlast her opponents. This is where the Corrot's parasite mechanics come in. A creature like Threadren, the corrupted fiber beast, doesn't just deal damage. It infests a card.
How does that work, mechanically?
It attaches a parasite token to an opponent's card. Now, whenever that card is healed, the Corrot player draws a card. Whenever that card uses an ability, the Corrot player gains energy. It turns the opponent's engine into your own fuel source. You can't out-heal a parasite that feeds on your recovery.
So the Corrot are designed to dismantle specific strategies at their core. They're not just fighting the opponent's cards. They're fighting their philosophy. What about fighting the Rustborn, the other side of the darkness?
That's one of the most interesting matchups. Rustborn decks are about sabotage, control, and twisting rules. They want to corrupt your cards, mess with your energy. But Corrot don't play by the rules. They are entropy. A Rustborn might try to place a corruption counter on a Corrot like Nullspindle. Nullspindle's ability is literally weave nullification. It can spend a turn to just delete all counters, effects, and modifiers in its zone. It's like trying to corrupt a black hole. The corruption just disappears.
So in the grim ecosystem of Tools and Titans, the Corrot function as the apex predator. They are the great equalizers, capable of dismantling any strategy through pure, unthinking annihilation.
Which brings us back to their narrative identity. The designers are very clear about this. They are not misunderstood. They are irredeemable. They are the final, absolute failure of the Forge.
In every match of Tools and Titans, your tradecraft unfolds in 6 simple moves. Draw, charge, building, act, clash, end.
Simplicity for the novice, mastery for the Titan.